Hi fellas, this is the spread of Christianity in ancient days. As you see, the orange sections are the early stages, up to 300 AD. But between 300 and 600 AD, it was a big hit. You know, it was definitely in the top 10 of religions. Yes, it spread very quickly from Palestine here, Israel, as it's now been known. It was in Iraq, filled Arabia, filled North Africa. It's well established in Spain, of course. Spain still very faithful Catholics usually, and Italy here. You see Rome here. I don't know if you know, but Rome here is still the seat of the Roman Catholic Church, and obviously this wasn't all Catholic. We had Assyrian, we had Coptic churches which still exist around Egypt, so they get bombed regularly by the Islamists and ISIS. The Syrian, which was kind of this whole area basically, all around Syria and northern Arabia. And where did it go to? We can see with the old kingdoms' names, Thrace, Illyria, these are the Roman type names. Where did it go to? Did these people just decide to go agnostic or atheist or swap? No, it didn't just disappear. It was wiped out. It was wiped out by the spread of Islam, a far less peaceful, warlike, thieving, slave-dealing ideology. As we see, as I've already pointed out on the map, this stops at 600 AD. Well, if you read the Quran like I've done, or any sources, you will know that Muhammad's first raid on his neighbouring Jewish villages, of course there would be a Jewish presence here as well, a small Jewish presence in the old Middle East. Yes, his first looting raid was in 627 AD. This is what it says in the Quran. And these are all the old 5th and 6th century Christian settlements that were abandoned and raped and pillaged and robbed, and all the menfolk beheaded in just one area of Syria. Just one area of Syria, there's 700 abandoned towns and cities. I mean, some of the ruins are still here. Look at it. Look at this. It's quite amazing that they're still there, isn't it? From the 4th, 5th and 6th century. There's this whole huge churches. Look, these are all, if you put in Google images, 700 dead cities. That's what they call them. They don't want to admit to you that it was wiped off the face of the earth, and the people were taken and the children were taken by Islam, and the children and women will be sold. Well, basically the Prophet said, you can do with, they are war booty, do with them as you please. I mean, look at these buildings. These are 5th century buildings, for heaven's sake. I mean, how advanced. Look at that, it's a pure stone roof, hasn't eroded in all these centuries. Oh, that's my little my little homemade project. But as you see, this particular one's in Syria. This one survived, actually, because there's still a Christian community there. But these magnificent buildings. I mean, this was in the days of, they were barely using the wheel, for heaven's sake. And all these peaceful Christian areas suffered from naivety. They never believed that anyone would come in and murder them and take them by force. Just as USA and Western Europe don't believe that Islam will destroy them, but it surely will. Just as it destroyed all these millions of Christians. These were Christians that were executed, 1.5 million were executed in Turkey in 1915, the Armenian genocide. This is the early massacres, and it was terrorist, just as it was today. Sometimes they become so well known for the massacres, that obviously, look at that. But obviously, sometimes people are so terrified that they abandon the houses and abandon the land, give them the gold and just leave because they wanted to survive. But the Muslims' reputation, Muhammad's reputation and his gangsters went before them, just like ISIS. It works on the fact that if you terrify them enough, half the time you won't have to fight them. This is what ISIS do, and it works quite often. There's people just up and leave everything just to save their lives because they're so frightened. Look at the size of these churches. This is actually an ancient graphic, from Muhammad's time, when they did all these beheadings in the first villages. This was the Armenian genocide. I mean, look at that. That is quite grand. You can imagine that with a roof. How many followers did that house? That's amazing. That must have been that was a monastery, I believe. Look at it, multiple rooms, chapels. You know, that could house hundreds and hundreds of worshippers, couldn't it? Look how high it is. Must have had a grand roof. I don't know, all destroyed by Islam. I don't want to go on too much, but basically, it didn't happen by accident. It was, as Winston Churchill said, Islam was born from the sword, and it took everything by the sword. You can see the quite rich farmland still being used. And as I say, 600 years of Christianity was wiped out by Islam, with millions and millions of people dead by the wayside. And as I say, children, much like my daughter stood here, would be sold, taken and sold. Okay, see you guys, very depressing, isn't it? But this is basically what's going to happen to Europe. In England now, we're being outbred 6 and 7 to 1 by those people who we're not supposed to mention, otherwise we can get videos took off for hate speech. And this is what they'll do eventually. This is jihad. This is active, violent jihad. Now we've got the religion of peace, that's never hurt a fly, to enable them to invade us more easily. I'll call that it, guys, but these Christians didn't just disappear into the ether. They were butchered. They were butchered, murdered, and everything they had was taken, even their children.